You gotta hire people who know what to do, who have been there before, and they can help work with you and unblock it. I'm a big fan of scaling up the one-page strategic plan in terms of how it gives you that framework. And we've been rolling that out, and that's been a huge organizational framework for us that has paid dividends. It was forcing me to take the vision out of my head and put it down on paper and share it with everyone and share the numbers behind it, and then really holding ourselves accountable to those numbers.
Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm so excited today to have Rebecca on with us because she's talking about stuff that I love hearing about because I probably need to do it sometime soon. And Rebecca, will you please tell us who you are and what do you do?
Hey, Todd, great to be here. Thanks for having me. So I'm Rebecca Kacaba, CEO and co-founder of DealMaker. DealMaker, think about it as Shopify for the capital markets. We help folks set up an online store to sell shares and then drive traffic digitally to that store. And I like to say we make it as easy to sell shares online as it is to sell shoes. Even though it's an infinitely more complex process, we know the trials and tribulations of being a founder. It's an extremely difficult job. And we just want to be a cheerleader along the way with a glass of water and a Nutrigrain bar, helping you guys get to where you want to go.
I love it. You sound like you've run a race recently. This is too good. I love it. So Rebecca, talk to us about this process. How did you get into doing this kind of thing, and why are you helping these kinds of people?
Yeah, I come from an entrepreneurial background. My dad has been an entrepreneur, started many businesses. And back when I was in the law firm, I also started a practice group that focused on helping founders get better access to legal services at more reduced cost. And that really led me and my co-founder on the journey of saying, hey, we could do even more for people leveraging technology. Right. There are tools out there that can make founders' lives even better, because I've always worked in my career supporting founders. I know what a difficult job it is. And, wanting to help them and do more has always been a part of it.
Well, that's awesome, because you know as well as I do that most of us need a lot of help. So when it comes to raising money and when it comes to making those deals happen to where an idea can actually come to fruition is not an easy process, both on the legal front and as well as the raising money part of it. Why pick the money part, or is that the focus? Like, help us understand what is DealMaker all about, and where do you put the main focus?
It is an alternative source of capital, right? Because at the end of the day, most businesses and founders that we see, at least, they need capital to support their business. And there are certain paths to capital, but that's always been a challenge for people, in that the most common funding sources are looking for very specific business models. That may not be the business model that your business fits. That doesn't mean it doesn't need capital and it's not a great business. Totally. It's just not the business model that maybe a certain VC or a certain institutional investor is looking for. So those are all great businesses. And when Congress passed the legislation that allowed every Americans to invest in private companies, and they wanted that to happen because they said, hey, look, we don't want every American to only get access to investments once they go public. At that point, all the gains have been made. We all know that, right? The companies have done their enormous growth.
The risk is kind of gone, right?
Yeah, the risk is gone. The big rewards are gone. So we want that to be available to everybody.
So what you're talking about is a glorified crowdfunding solution providing type situation. Is that where we're at here?
Yeah, I like to think about it as a community raising, and that's really where the ecosystem has evolved to, right? Because people traditionally think of crowdfunding as small raises and small checks. And when you get into community building, we've got customers, EnergyX right now, they're going to raise $75 million this year through their community. And you've got people that are reinvesting in these rounds. They're also making connections for the business so that the business can get contracts, or they're posting organic socials so that the business's brand can grow. We
I
saw
love it.
Reddit invite their users to participate in their IPO. And we all know Peloton, a really strong brand out there, was
Right.
originally founded by a community of people who just wanted to do athletics a little bit different. So it's
Right.
always been out there, people leveraging the power of community to build a brand
Right.
faster. And we're making it mainstream.
Well, and I gotta say, both from from the companies, from the founder side, when you can have, say, 10,000 people participate in a raise versus two or three companies like participate in a raise, it's a lot more confidence building to know that that many people are interested in your success. How have you kind of helped shape this this configuration of new mentality, I guess, of a money raise with thousands of people versus these small individual groups who are very, very specific and have a lot of demands on their companies that they invest in?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Todd. It really is the power of that community, right? If you have thousands of people with a $3,600 check, that's really
Right.
validating. They're not even buying a product. They're just saying, I
Right.
believe in your mission and what you're doing so much that I want to actually make an investment. And then they're 54% more engaged to help
Right.
you build the brand, right? Like I bought Netflix early on. I'm
Totally.
diehard Netflix. Doesn't matter who else starts streaming services. Maybe I'll buy them
Totally.
too, but I want Netflix to be the winner because I got in there early. And that's really what it's all about, is building that community support and that community vibe. For us, our growth has been exponential. So it's really
I
been
bet.
the innovation of founders who see what we're doing and understand how they can leverage it. That's really caused our growth. And for me, it's been a wild ride to just hang on and get to participate and work with them.
No, that's so cool. Honestly, you're sitting in a very enviable position where you're helping them, but you don't have to make all their decisions for them, and you just kind of watch these cool things happen, these cool relationships. What does it look like from the right deals? Like, what are the right types of deals to bring to this type of raise? Are you seeing everything across the board? Are there specific niches that you're seeing more successful with it? Like, who should be thinking about this?
Yeah, it's anybody, think of it as anybody who has a message that can resonate really quickly and easily in a TikTok ad. So that doesn't necessarily have to be a consumer facing brand, although consumer facing brands are easy to explain,
Right.
and customers
Right.
who it resonates with very much get them. A lot of tech, a lot of robotics, a lot of, as I mentioned, we have a lithium company doing really well because everyone understands the power of lithium today. A lot
Right.
of real
Right.
estate companies do really well as well. So it's really
Interesting.
about the messaging and crafting it in such a way that it has broader market appeal. Something like, a server facility in a remote location, probably not as good for digital raising.
Not
People
quite
aren't
as sexy.
as excited about that. It's not as sexy. Although some companies like that have put a unique spin on it and they've been
Yeah.
able to raise capital. If they're doing it in a new and disruptive way, that's going to cause
Right.
global change.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I love hearing about these things. We talked briefly earlier before the interview. One of our earliest guests on this podcast, the Boxable team, was on here, and we had this. That was kind of the first time where I had heard somebody raising hundreds of millions of dollars using crowdfunding as their primary lead source for money. And I thought, holy crap, this is amazing. Tell us about that relationship where you've kind of helped them pick up where they left off, and how does this work? Like, I still just think this is not a story being told enough.
Yeah, I mean, they're such an innovative team, right? They're one of the creative, really robust teams who understands how to
Right.
leverage this power. We're working with them to help them extend into the UK as well as Canada because they're growing exponentially, and their community is a huge advocate for the Boxables, and they have a huge waiting list of those customers.
Right. No, and we're talking about, for those that don't know who Boxable is, we're talking about a company that literally builds homes in a box, and then when they're delivered to your home, it literally like just connects the piece. It's like a little Lego piece, and you've got yourself a home. What are they hitting, like 40 grand a piece or something like that? I don't know. They may be more at this point, but insane cool product. all crowdfunded. Like, amazing, amazing thing. So you've got lots of other case studies here, but are you seeing, obviously because you're dealing with consumers, I mean, do you have like this vetted audience of people who want to invest in your projects, or are you the back end part of this, or how are you bringing the attraction to these offers and these opportunities?
Think of it exactly like digital marketing to a Shopify store. So the power of that
Gotcha.
is really in the data and the ability of a company like Boxable to be able to build their own community that then supports that business and reinvests. So for us, it's not about having a portal or a pool of investors that are looking at many deals and they might look at Bob's Canoe Shop sitting next to you on the portal. You're really building your own community that becomes your advocate and your brand advocate, and they also become a repeated source of capital again and again. So we've had folks get over 36% of a future raise from the community from last rounds.
Wow. That's pretty awesome. Okay. So that's really cool stuff. Now looking at your business, I mean, looking at DealMaker and looking at what you're doing, as you reflect on this little journey that you've been on and bringing the money to these people and helping them kind of bring these ideas to the people in your own business, where did the deals really start coming in? Like, looking back, was there something you did differently that kind of all of a sudden made you guys the thing or the group to work with to do these?
I have a phrase, Todd, you got to eat your own dog food. And that's really how we started. We raised from a lot of folks who understood what I was building, lawyers, bankers, IR firms who could use DealMaker and could introduce us to deals that we're raising. And that is what caused us to have exponential growth, because our community has always been our advocate and helped me get the business off the ground. And a lot of people are astounded at how much we've been able to build the business so quickly. And that is completely attributable to the community around us, a lot of whom are regular customers.
I love it. So you actually did a raise for your own growth based off of what you were trying to do. And people were like, yeah, we want more deals coming in for us too. And that's why they want to help you.
Yeah, every time. That's what I've done.
Fantastic. How many times have you done it? 3
times.
Congratulations. How cool is that? I mean, for those of you listening and you've been scared of doing a raise, I'm one of those guys. Okay. Rebecca, you believe it or not, I've only raised money twice in the history of Todd doing business. And both times, one time in particular, I got extremely taken advantage of. And it was a very negative experience raising money for me. Because of that, I've just been a hardcore bootstrapper. And everything I do is just bootstrap. And it's really stupid to be a bootstrapper only type of business builder, because what is your growth? I mean, 3 raises on something you could have bootstrapped. What did it do for you? What was the fuel intake look like for you?
Well, I mean, for technology, to me, you've got to be raising because you want to build the most sophisticated technology that you can. And so it takes a huge investment to bring a proper technology product to market. But what you're saying, Todd, is literally the exact conversation I've had with the CEOs that I work with that use DealMaker. They didn't, and it was the same for me. I didn't want someone having a seat at the table telling me what to do. We're entrepreneurs. Totally. We don't want to be told what to do. And I know how hard the journey is, and you know how hard the journey is. And you don't need someone who's not really there in the trenches with you,
telling you what to do and what you shouldn't do.
And it's just very hard to have that kind of alignment of interest. And so what I think people should realize is, with a community that is on board with what you're doing, and you're taking small checks from people. So to a certain extent, it's, you can communicate with them en masse, and you can do it in a different way that is a little more feasible, and you can ask them for things, and you can make them part of the business in a positive way that supports you. But it's not the same as someone handing you a term sheet. You're setting the term sheet, you're setting the type of share that you're offering, and so you have more control in it.
I love it. I'm actually really excited to have a post-interview conversation with you about this more. We'll keep it there. But I don't want to expose all my weaknesses. But I mean, I feel like I'm a lot like a lot of our listeners in that a lot of us who are building and growing a business right now, there's definitely growth blockers. Like we have mental blockers that are keeping us from, for example, going to raise money when we should.
Yeah.
There's blockers that are keeping us from having the right messaging, marketing, going out there. There's lots of areas where we find these blockers. I'm curious in your experience as you've grown your business, and I'm talking about, DealMaker here, not your clients. What are some of the not so obvious things that you ran into that you were like, crap, I didn't see that coming as you started to grow your tech?
Yeah, there have been so many, but I think a recent one, as you enter into the growth company stages, you have to become very focused on who you can best help and who you're not right for. And that involves saying no to things and opportunities and people. And that can be really, really hard. That was really hard for me when, and co-founder as well, when you're trying to grow as fast as you can and you're scrappy and you're trying to make revenue.
Totally.
To suddenly be saying no to opportunities in a big way, that's tough. But you kind of have to do it in view of getting to the next level. And paired with that is organizational structure, right? Which again, like entrepreneurs, we don't like to be told what to do. We're out there figuring it out and making it work. And suddenly we really have to impose a structure on ourselves. That was pretty tough for me.
Interesting. Yeah, no, it is hard. And those kind of growth, again, you're kind of named off a few growth blockers that I see are really common things that keep us from growing. How did you get through all that? Like, what's the advice you give to people dealing with some of these same things that you've been able to work through? Maybe some of them you're not.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of, look, even Tom Brady had a coach, right? So you gotta hire people who know what to do, who have been there before, and they can help work with you and unblock it. I'm a big fan of scaling up the one-page strategic plan in terms of how it gives you that framework, and rolling that out. And that's been a huge organizational framework for us that has paid dividends.
Well, what about the scaling up model did you really like? I mean, dive into that just a little bit, because I think there's a lot of people that kind of need to hear this.
Yeah, for me, it was forcing me to take the vision out of my head and put it down on paper and share it with everyone and share the numbers behind it, and then really holding ourselves accountable to those numbers. And that's a process, right? Because you're not always communicating as much as you think as a founder. You got to tell them and then tell them again and then tell them again. And you think you just told them once and they should know, but actually you have to say it 7 times. So helpful in making me lay out the vision, helpful in making me repeat myself, helpful in holding me accountable to numbers and the team accountable to numbers in a way that we can say, be very data driven and say, look, we're always making 5 bets, 4 of them might not pay off. Which ones are not paying off? As much as I feel that they're the right bets, the data is showing that
before it kills us. Right. No, so this is really interesting. And I love that you brought this up, because I find this problem all over the place. Oftentimes we feel like we've said it 7 times, and the reality is it didn't really hit anybody other than the wall that you were talking to behind those people, right?
Yeah, totally.
By putting it on paper and by putting actual numbers to the board and saying, this is our target, this is where we want to hit, and these are the things we're watching. Tell us what a difference that's made in your business.
It's been huge. Even setting KPIs and helping people orient their behavior around what we're measuring is incredibly different than just telling them, because what we're doing, allowing people to raise capital digitally, is really complex. There's a lot of moving pieces for us internally. And we don't want to put that complexity on the customers. We want to make it easy and simple for them. And so holding ourselves accountable to what we're doing that way, that's tough. But if we set the right KPIs, then we can measure the right things and make sure that that's what we're doing.
I love it. Now, as you're working with your clients, and you're helping someone through this DealMaker flow, and they're trying to go through your workflow, you're onboarding them. Is this a problem that you see with a lot of the people you're helping raise money?
What, the complexity?
The let's just say the clarity with which the founders are driving their team towards growth. Like everybody can get around excitement of raising money, right? Like everybody in the company is like, "Oh, cool, yeah, this will be awesome." But like, do you see this path of clearly defining those, let's say, those mission goals or those objectives they're trying to hit in such clarity as you just described? When you see people not doing that versus people that are doing that, what's the success rate? Like, how well do they utilize the funds that they just raised, and how often do you see that make the difference?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have full visibility into it, but anecdotally, the
Right,
documents that you prepare for the raise are really beneficial that way because you have to lay out the vision and you have to lay out the
right.
KPIs and the metrics. So by the time you raise, you've got to have a good sense of it. And I think that's true of anything in business. After that, it just comes down to execution.
I love it. I love it. So as you're having this conversation with me, I feel like we've kind of nailed who you're trying to help. We've kind of nailed like your solution and what you do to help them. We've kind of heard your story as to some of the things that have helped you kind of get through your own growth strategy and develop this thing. This show is all about people that want to grow and scale. And I would say that the vast majority of businesses that are capped in their growth, a lot of it has to do with uh, the lack of capital to be able to fund the right types of steps they need to make. What advice do you give to people that are dealing with that? They're just scared to do it. They don't want to raise a whole bunch of money. They don't want other people messing with their business. Walk us through that. Like, how small is too small of a raise, and how big is? I mean, obviously there's no cap, but
Yeah.
like, what's a good first seed run of money to raise, and what does that look like?
I think they should give us a call, just have a call with one of our reps and start to understand the landscape. Sometimes it's a process that people take, 3/4 of a year to think about and understand it.
Right,
And
right,
it's for you, the founder, to construct it the way you want it. And so you're going to want to get familiar with terms and valuation and use of the
sure,
capital and what you would do with the capital. And there's no pressure. That's going to take the amount of time that it takes for you to come to that decision. We see a lot of
right.
people, once they go through that process, they'll raise, a few $100,000, 500,000 to $1 million on a portal. We'll send them to a partner portal, easy to get a raise set up and do that. Start to build a
Cool.
community, start to get familiar with communicating with them and asking them for things. And then folks will launch into the bigger and bigger ones, like some of the customers I mentioned who are going to raise anywhere from 20 to 75 million this year.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. That's good advice. And for those of you listening who are too scared to get out there and do this, I promise you a phone call to the team here is going to make a big difference for you. Not if now's not the right time, they're going to let you know, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And even if it is not the right time, I'm willing to bet that just hearing the questions that they're going to ask and trying to understand the intentions behind it is going to make a huge difference for you to push your business in the right direction to qualify to be the right time at some point in the future. Would you say that's probably an accurate statement there?
I would say that because, look, investors come in because they want growth. And for you, growth in your business is good as well, right? It makes more money. It's a bigger multiple. It focuses you on what your margin is, what your sales targets are. So taking investment is generally very aligned with what you want. It just has to be the right kind of investor. If they want you to grow too fast, that's where you run into those kinds of issues, or they want to take the business in a direction you don't want to. That's where community raising can really help because you're setting the message, you're setting the terms, and you're bringing people in on your own terms.
I love it. I love it. Rebecca, this is so awesome. I love the conversation we've had today, and I know it's going to bless the lives of those listening because I think a lot of people are scared to make these steps. I think there are a lot of people are scared because they don't feel qualified. Maybe they don't feel like their business is worth the investment. I think that what you've done is just spoken a lot of peace to people to give them that motivation to do so. In your business growth, like as you kind of were building this, and even today, Is there a group or someone that you kind of lean on, that a mentor that has helped you shape where you guys have come thus far?
We definitely have a lot of advisors. I've leveraged advisors throughout the years. As I said, even Tom Brady, the greatest of all time,
Awesome.
had a coach. So I really believe that you always need help to get you to the next level, and you shouldn't be afraid to use it. But in terms of inspiration, our customers are such amazing, innovative founders. If I get to spend a little bit of time with them, understand how they're using my business in their business and understand their business, I find that so invigorating.
I love it. I love it. Any specific person you want to shout out? Is there someone who's made an impact on your life?
The whole DealMaker team. Yeah, the DealMaker team is an amazing group of innovators, and I couldn't be more proud to work with them.
Love it. I love internal shout outs. That's awesome. For all of you working with Rebecca and making this thing happen, thank you. And on behalf of my whole audience, thank you. And I hope that you get a lot of deal flow from this, because truthfully, in growing and scaling, and which is the whole focus of this podcast, there does come a time in almost every business life cycle where you need money. It is almost impossible for any bootstrapper to get all the way to a nice exit without some type of capital investment at some point along the journey. So Rebecca, I really appreciate you kind of opening the door to people and letting them see inside of what that might look like and what that could look like. Anything else you feel like we should leave with the people today that will help them?
Just reach out, give us a call. You can find us at dealmaker.tech is the website. And we're happy to just have a conversation with you about growing your business. You can follow us on LinkedIn, the company DealMaker Tech, and we'd love to chat with you.
All that stuff's in the show notes below, so don't hesitate to hit them up and see what it's all about. Thank you, Rebecca, so much for your time today, and we appreciate all of you listening. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd, for having me.